They have arrived. We have all the stats for aim down sight speed and bullet velocity finally on sim.gg. And I'm here to present you 3 updated loadouts with pinpoint stats right now. We don't have stats on recoil yet, but we have our graphs for the underbarrels and also for the muzzles, linked in the description below. Why are these stats so interesting and important? We can now figure out if the barrels are 100% worth it or not. Kastov 762 as sniper support has 5 barrels. One is viable for recoil control and bullet velocity, and the other one is damage range, bullet velocity, and recoil control. But the first one only gets you 102 meters per second bullet velocity, not worth it, and adds almost 100 milliseconds of ADS time. Whereas the third one gives you 74 meters per second bullet velocity and adds only 48 milliseconds ADS time. So if you would have to choose between these two already, it's definitely the IGK30 over the CAS. We know that the high velocity rounds give you 260 meters per second plus, which already brings you to 850 meters, and that's more than enough. That can be tuned towards bullet velocity or recoil steadiness. Here in this case, I prefer recoil steadiness because the loss is minimal, and we even out the damage range that you lose from actually using them. And you do this without making the gun slower ADS. Interesting enough, you have a stock which also does recoil control and aiming stability. Yes, it takes some sprint speed away, aim walk movement speed, but the same you kind of also do lose when you're using a barrel. You also get minus an aim down sight speed, but it's only 6 ms. So you do actually get recoil control. You can also tune this towards aim down sight speed, so you don't actually lose any aim down sight speed, and more aiming idle stability, while actually adding the recoil control that the barrel would also do, which makes you move slower. Again, haven't made the gun ADS slower yet. 30 round mag or 40 round mag, you would lose 25 milliseconds, and that is 1 ADS frame, so that's neglectable. But also 10 more bullets does not feel like we kind of want that, because you kill in so few bullets with this gun. Now there's one suppressor I always recommend, and that was the Kastov DX90, because it does bullet velocity and recoil control. But it also only gives 84 meters per second bullet velocity, and at the same time it gives you 75 milliseconds ADS time, and time to exit ADS also 75 milliseconds plus. So it makes it tremendously worse. In comparison, you could take the Husher 65 sounds here, which gives you bullet velocity, no recoil control, but it gives you 127 meters per second and also only 34 milliseconds. So half, while we're almost giving you double bullet velocity, making you even more hit scan. That being said, I believe the gun has enough bullet velocity with 850 meters per second. Everything above 1,000 is long range viable. Everything above 800 is definitely able to be sniper support. So you have the free choice to now work on recoil and ADS time. Since we know how much ADS time every single laser improves now, we can also choose the best one here. And we have been natively already doing that with the FSS OV. That's minus 31 milliseconds, which is actually pretty huge. For underbarrels, you have the ones that gets plus 40 milliseconds, like the FTAC Ripper, which is already very good. But you also have the phase 3, which is equivalent to the Ripper. Does a wee bit less, but it's also only plus 20 milliseconds. So half of that, while still giving you good recoil control. You could tune this for aim down sight speed if you want, or even more recoil stabilization and aiming idle stability. Now we have 4 good attachments already on. Let's put that in the firing range just to kind of feel what the gun already has. And the iron sight is pretty good, and we can just really laser this away nicely. And if we're looking at the actual recoil, it's a stable and steady one. It's just like, it just goes with one little weep and then up here. Obviously, instead of the phase 3 grip, you could also choose for yourself a muzzle that does recoil control. And here the good news is they all have the same amount of ADS time minus lockshot, tie LR8, and whatsoever. So you can actually choose the one that works the best for you. So we can remove this, keep the lockshot on for gun kick control and recoil stabilization, so that we have the 5th slot open for Cronin Mini Dot, because obviously I do like to have a sight here because I'm an iron sight hater. Now with the lock shot, you make it a wee bit more controllable, and in my eyes, very good. But again, choose your poison here, what you actually prefer. If you want to have the horizontal recoil, get the horizontal recoil, but I kind of like this a wee bit more than what we have here, right? Before I got the stats, I was definitely running a barrel and an underbarrel. Now with this tune, my ADS time is better, my bullet velocity is best, and I can take just all of the fights easier and nastier. Let's apply our learnings to the TAC 56. Starts with 30 rounds as well. Sniper support would be enough. We could put on the 60 round mag, but we're talking about 75 milliseconds ADS time. So you go from 240 milliseconds quick ADS like an SMG to over 300, and that would be only the first attachments. Viable for long range beaming, but as a sniper support, forget about that. The barrels, you have the 17.5 Tundra for damage range and bullet velocity, no recoil control. Damage range increase is huge though, that's 24%, but it's only 107 meters per second. So again, not really worth it, especially you get 66 milliseconds ADS time, not as bad as it was on the kastov. Now for ammunition, we obviously always go for high velocity because that's just the best bang for the buck. You get some recoil steadiness, which is fantastic, and you push the bullet velocity up to 850 meters per second. The good thing is with the TAC 56, you could use the iron sight. I kind of do like the iron sight. I see a lot of controller players actually use it, and the recoil on this gun is horrendously minimal. I mean, there's like no actual recoil so to talk of, which means we could tune this more towards actual bullet velocity. And here again, when we're looking at all the suppressors, we could choose between the echoless and the covered. The covered gives us only plus 34 milliseconds. That is almost nothing, and increases by 127 meters per second. Whereas the echoless is 255 milliseconds, so twice the muzzle velocity with 68 milliseconds though, but it also increases the effective damage range more. So that would be an okay trade. Putting that on, tuning this towards aiming idle stability or even more bullet velocity, whatever you feel here. And then you can do some aim down sight speed to mitigate the aim down sight speed effect. Laser, we talked about it. It's still the FSS OV laser. We have 3 good attachments. We could now throw an eye on the stocks. We have aiming stability and recoil control again, which would only lose us sprint speed. But again, the ADS time minus is so minimal, it doesn't exist. So we're just getting a free attachment with no negative side to it at all. I mean, you notice that's an ADS time so to talk about, right? Sure, you lost some sprint speed, but your overall movement speed is good. So when you're walking, and that's important, and you just have this very clean and good recoil with an optimized bullet velocity. Now, if we're looking at what we got here, that's just shooting away very nicely. You do notice there's a bit wibble wobble in there. So we could now, for just 20 milliseconds, 20 milliseconds ADS time, we could add a phase 3 grip to this that we tune towards idle stability and recoil stabilization. Have even better, or instead of the phase 3 grip, we could go for a rear grip with the demo clean shot that we then tune towards recoil steadiness. And with the final attachments now, putting this into the firing range, you're just perfectly off. And now, considering that obviously you have to use this iron sight, you could also consider putting the phase 3 grip off to obviously put an optic on, or the laser off to put an optic on to say, okay, minimal ADS time, we're fine. This is now ADS time recoil, most optimal TAC 56. Last but not least, let's check the vaznev for one of the strongest SMGs. For the barrels again, we have the cast that gives you damage range, bullet velocity, and the SA response, which gives us bullet velocity, recoil control, and damage range. In this case, the second one only has 8%, where the first one has 24% plus. Both have the same bullet velocity and ADS time minus. What you have to consider here is the second one has some recoil control, while the first one pushes your 10 meter to 12 meter, and this one pushes you from 10 to 11. None of these is actually worth it for what they do for your gun, because your damage range increase is so minimal, it doesn't matter. You could consider putting on the 45 round mag, but that's plus 37 milliseconds ADS time and sprint out ADS time as well. I would rather use sleight of hand as a perk for faster reload, plus obviously having a laser for faster ADS time, than ruining this already straight over the rib. Maybe along the line, we'll find that it's possible to put it on. Now, my favorite thing again is the stock. It is recoil control and aim down sight speed minus 7 milliseconds. Crouch movement speed minus, what the hell, I don't care. So I get a huge chunk of aiming idle stability or even aim walk movement speed if I want to. Plus, I do get my aim down sight speed back while getting some recoil control bonus for no downsides. This grip only gives you minus 7 milliseconds ADS time, but you can tune it for sprint to fire speed to increase that even more. And we can tune this for some recoil steadiness. So that gives us better recoil than it would actually ruin, while at the same time, it kind of maintains just that we faster whip out the gun. Now with these 3 attachments, thing moves already fast. Sure, our crouch is a bit slower now. ADS is on point, which needs to be super fast. How does the recoil do with these 3 attachments? And for an SMG, yeah, what do you want? This is just perfect. We get away. Yes, we go a little bit from the left to the right. So let's see what we can do grip-wise and what we can do muzzle-wise, because those are two attachments that we technically have left. Now, the good thing, any of the recoil steadiness grips back here, like the Backdraft and the BRUEN Warrior grip, they all only give 20 milliseconds ADS time. So that's kind of like really cool. And you can natively tune all of them towards aim down sight speed and some hip recoil control, which ain't that bad, I would say. Now, you've seen the good recoil. We could just take the 45 round mag if you want to, but you kill in very low bullets, so I don't believe you actually need it. I would rather think about either putting on a muzzle to get rid of that little bit left and right wibble wobble that is still in the gun. But again, you're also kind of using it as an SMG, so it would be close up and nice. So this got to be considered, like if you're shooting someone on this distance, you're keeping it on. But you also notice the gun goes a little bit left to right. So I think we wouldn't be all too wrong thinking about putting on a lock shot or a Lacerda compensator to tune this then towards gun kick control and recoil stabilization. And if we're now putting this here into the firing range, we just made this go a bit less from the left to the right. This one is now more pushed down together so that when you're shooting this target, you're just better on without so much wibble in the side. I think that's a wee bit better. And look at the ADS time compared to my old version. My old version was way slower. This is good. We have the good running. We have kind of everything going on for the vaznev. These stats help so much. This was a more technical video. Don't worry. We'll get the gameplay and everything back in, and we'll revisit a lot of the builds I've been actually making already to give you the most optimal ones right now. Because obviously with these learnings, I finally know how much bullet velocity we really get, and is it really worth it, especially knowing that the stock does not reduce our ADS time that much. Because if you haven't checked the perfect sniper support build, you've been missing out.